Good morning, people. Did you know that the average person who's out there striving to reach their goals will most likely give up just outside of 10% from reaching it? You see, you spend the first 10% of the goal building the momentum it will take to get the ball rolling, and by the time we get to the last 10%, we are so tired from working the goal that we get fatigued. When this happens, instead of us focusing on the end game, we start reflecting back on the previous 90%. Why is this? Why is it so hard to home in on the last 10% than it is the previous 90% when the more important focus should be reaching the finish line? It is never hard distinguishing that feeling of adversity. Things always seem to climb to their worst just before you reach your goals. Well, I'm here to tell you that when this normally happens, this is when you need to power drive forward with all that you've got and reach the finish line anyway. Listen up, people. When you put all of your hard-earned time, effort, sweat, and tears into something, there should never be any room on that agenda for quitting. You must prevail, or all that you have done up to that point is lost. Forget about everything that has gotten you to that point. Focus more on the last 10%. Winners ride till the wheels fall off.
First cupkc, unique, hustle hard music. Yeah. First cupkc, start your day off with a cup of Joe and positive convo. First cupkc, shine a light on the ones that work hard from Kansas to the Mo. First cupkc, motivate, educate, inspire the youth to be great. First cupkc, believe in yourself is the key to make a change. It's never too late. First cupkc. This broadcast is a No Solutions podcast production. Yeah.
One of my growing favorite guests to have on the show are power couples. It's always hard enough trying to maintain a sense of consistency on your own, but when you have two people working together, not just in the professional sense, but also in the professional one, things can get a little overwhelming. But when you work together with the matching rhythm that compensates for the other, now that's when the magic starts. Today on the show, I have that type of couple. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Izzy and her husband, David Black.
Hello. How are
Welcome.
you?
Thank you.
Welcome. So you guys are the power couple.
Apparently we are. Hey,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
You guys went through a lot, right?
We have
Yes,
been
we
through
have.
a lot.
That's
We are striving through a lot. Yeah.
yeah, every day, continually.
Yeah.
Just getting it done, no matter what.
Right. It's a choice.
Tell us a little bit about who Izzy and David are.
Well, Izzy, Isabel Luz Camacho Black, my full name. And who I am now is a business owner. I own Gigi's Natural Hippie Essentials.
Gigi's Natural. I like that. It's got a ring to it. Gigi's.
So I'm helping people get their lives back basically with this product. And again, this is everything that I'm doing now. After 2020 has just all been calling of God, and I'm just answering the call.
Mm-hmm.
So business owner as of 2021 with Gigi's Natural Hippie Essentials.
Why Gigi's?
My mom is Gigi.
Mm-hmm.
And she's great grandma, so she's turned
Gigi.
Into Gigi the last couple years, and she's been making different variations of these salves of a healing salve for about 12 years now. This specific 5-ingredient salve that I sell now is her most recent one that she made. It's been about 4 years. And it's just changing lives. It helped me through my cancer journey, through my surgeries, recovering from my surgeries in 2020. And that's where in 2021, coming out of that, I was told that I was going to share this product with the world. Sounds so blissful and beautiful, right?
Yes.
It is, but here's the kicker. Me and Gigi have always had a very broken relationship. I wasn't raised by my parents, fully, and especially not by my mom. So we've had a very rocky relationship. So when God started revealing all these things to me and that it was going to be a tribute to my mom, I had to chew on that for a while because I
Right.
couldn't understand
What his calling was.
why that even made sense.
Sometimes it don't make sense.
It doesn't. So with being a new business owner in 2021, I was prompted to take a speaking class, but it was a Scale Your Business Master Speaking class. So I was like, oh, new business owner. I would like to learn how to develop skills and confidence to get in front of people to talk about my product
Right.
and how it can help them. Signed up for this class with those intentions. During that class, realized that I was there for a bigger purpose than promoting my business. God told me that my business was going to do just fine. I just needed to keep showing up as my best, authentic self,
Yep.
and to just allow that to do what it's going to do. But I needed to share my story with his people. And that's what he told me with my product. It was his people's product. Everybody needed this, had to have access to my product. So with that being said, I was prompted to start a 12-month series called Activate Your Power Now, which is a 12-month speaker series where I get on stage and go totally against everything I was ever taught and what was instilled into me my whole life. And that's, loyalty, certain codes. You keep your business to yourself. You don't put it out there. When God told me I was going to start sharing my story on stage and inspiring other people to share their truths, acknowledge them, accept them for what it is, and then choose to be the change in the narrative. So I get on stage now every month. This started in January. So we'll be going into month 8 of our 12-month series. So it's me. I've linked up with some other speakers, new speakers as well. And we inspire people who have never thought of speaking or don't even consider themselves a speaker, but they've been nudged to share a part of their story,
Right.
to heal themselves and with hopes to inspire someone else to be activated in their truth and choose to do something different in their life.
Right.
So
So you're choosing something to do different in your life. But what happened in your life that made you have to choose to such a different life? Where'd you guys come from?
well, that's a good question. I come from a border town, El Paso, Texas.
El Paso, Texas.
So, woohoo, yep. So I come from the desert and mountains. Kansas is beautiful. I love it. I love the Midwest.
You got that open land, short skies.
Oh, the colors. Like if you understand where I come from, you would know that I thought seasons were just something you read about in a book.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, where does this actually happen at?
It happens. And it happens bad.
I came here and I was like, wow, like you can see throughout the year changes around, the season change and everything. So I was in awe from the beginning. And just, there was a certain friendliness here in the Midwest that I really enjoyed compared to where I grew up. But I'm from Northeast El Paso. My teenage years, when I did go back to live with my mom right before I turned 13, we lived in the Devil's Triangle. So I was in gangs, drugs.
You said the Devil's Triangle. Ooh-wee, that don't sound like a triangle.
Yeah, no,
I
in the
wanna be
90s,
in.
it wasn't the place to be in El Paso. So they've since worked really hard into turning it into the Angel's Triangle.
Right.
And stuff. So it's not as bad. It has gotten better. But, in the 90s, everything was different.
Yeah, it was. That's when it really was all the gangs started popping off big time in the mid 80s and the early 90s. Oh, I remember. Are you from here? Are you from?
No, I'm originally from Orlando, Florida.
Lee, y'all from
Yeah.
two different places.
Yeah. And so we moved from Florida to Kansas in 92. We moved to Manhattan, Kansas.
So you moved, or both of you guys?
No,
moved?
I moved. We
So
moved,
you guys met here.
We
in
met in Manhattan.
Okay.
Manhattan,
all right.
Kansas.
So you moved from, how long did you live? How long did you live in Florida before you moved here? Were you
I was
adult?
almost 15. Then
So
we
you were-
moved to Manhattan, and at that time, Manhattan's not to what it is now. It's a small college town. So it was completely different going from city to a small college town, big culture shock. And, you know, in Florida, there in Orlando, you know, you could just kind of like here in Kansas City, you could just go and get on the bus and go just about anywhere around town, you know, going from there to a small college town, Manhattan. You know, I think the only public transportation they had at that time was a taxi service, and it wasn't really reliable. Yeah. And if it was, it cost a lot of money. So it was a big culture shock, you know, looking back now, in my 40s, it was a blessing in disguise. At that time in my early teens, it was just a big drag, you know? So I kind of despised it until, you know, probably my early 20s. And, I kind of liked it to a certain extent, but I always knew that I didn't want to live there for the rest of my life.
Yeah. It probably made you feel a little safer, at least.
No, it did. It did. Like I said, it was a blessing in disguise. But I knew I wanted to go somewhere bigger and stuff like that. It was just more opportunities. And, you know, I felt like living in Manhattan, it was just, I was hitting the ceiling as far as like my potential. Yeah. And just job opportunities and everything else.
And you met Izzy. You guys met in Manhattan.
Yeah, we met in Manhattan.
It was almost a deal breaker for us.
How the heck did you get from Texas to Manhattan?
So that's another part of the story.
See, I'm gonna keep switching. Up because
Dave came to Kansas against his will at 15. He was the youngest brother of his mom's children, and he has a lot of brothers from his mom and his dad. And they were starting to get in trouble. Yeah. Go to jail and find themselves in situations they should have no business being in. So as a single mom, she wanted to save her kids. So she packed them up, brought them to Kansas. So it was against his will. When I came to Kansas at 17, I was a mom, and I was with my son's father. And I was trying to get away from the gangs and the drugs. Uh-huh. And we had tried to do that in El Paso. We moved out of the Triangle. He got a job. I found out I was pregnant on his 17th birthday. I was 16. Young. And I spoke about it on the stage. You know, I was 9 months pregnant, throwing my trash at night, and a rival gang member, even though I took myself out of that environment, was trying to start a peaceful life, rushed up on me and pretending to pull a gun out on me and throwing his gang signs at me. Trained to be who I was trained to be, you know, I didn't back down. And, but I was grateful to make it back into my house. And I just kept having the flash, of me pushing my child down in a stroller because I relied on public transportation, and that same scenario playing out. And I couldn't have it. So I had an opportunity. My dad happened to be in El Paso with my stepmom and my brothers visiting because they lived in Kansas because my stepmom was in the military stationed at Fort Riley. And he told me Kansas was a great place to raise a family, that I should bring my son to Kansas to raise him. So we moved New Year's of 1997. And at 17, I was moving to Kansas with my first son, trying to start a new life. It wasn't the first time I had moved away and tried to start a new life, but that was the first time I came to Kansas.
How did it feel? Did you just feel
it was the middle of winter? No.
You're scared, nervous?
Culture shock also. Yeah. I felt safe, like you said. I did feel safe. It was a new space. It was very rural, out in Manhattan where we were, St. George. And there was job opportunities where I wouldn't otherwise have. And the pay was different compared to a border town. So things were going good. My ex just couldn't step away from that lifestyle. So he started trafficking from Kansas
To El Paso.
And just not even 2 years later, I was just found out I was pregnant with our second son, and he got busted trafficking in New Mexico. So here I go back to El Paso with one son who's turning 3.
One in the belly.
And one in the belly. So I came to Kansas, was here for just shy of 2 years, went back to El Paso. My ex went off to prison. Came out. I realized within that year he was gone that I could do it on my own with 2 kids. Like
It's better that way.
At that time, it really was better. It really was better. And just because he wasn't ready, we weren't on the same page was, what was going on, and we were young. So yeah, when he came out and I realized like he was interrupting my flow now, I was like, let's stay friends. And he agreed, because I was like, I'm about to not like you.
And draw the line before it's too
Yeah.
late.
So we parted ways. He ended up getting revoked, went right back to prison, which stinks, because that's a whole nother, story of how the system, is broken. But I met somebody within the week that we broke up, and he said all the right things to me. So he moved into my place that I had. I was working 2 jobs before I met him.
Still in El Paso?
Still in El Paso. And moved him in, and I just started going downhill from there. He just it was not a good idea. And I knew him for 2 months, and I knew I needed to get the heck out of there. So I packed up one day while he was not home and got on a Greyhound bus the next Sunday morning. Got off the bus in Kansas or maybe I got on Sunday and got off Saturday and got off Sunday in Manhattan, and actually met Dave that evening. I went out to the bar, but I had a 3-year-old.
Man, my wife in the bar too.
I had a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old,
best hookups.
and I was just a couple weeks pregnant with my daughter. Yeah, met Dave. We didn't talk really that first day. We just met, but I was at the bar every week then. And so we'd see each other every week. And before you know it, it was like we started talking, and that was a done deal once we started talking. So
now you guys, how many kids you guys have together?
we have my 3 children that he helped raise. He adopted our daughter, who I was a couple weeks pregnant with when we met. And that's enough for us.
Hey, that's pretty neat, man. That is. You guys, so you guys met in a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
And we had a drinking problem when we met. And I'm going to get crap for saying this, but it's my truth. And it's part of why I need to share my story, because there's lots of women out there who are in the shoes that I have been in. And I was in denial. I was ashamed. Mm-hmm. I was homeless. I was jobless. I was carless. All I had was 2 children and 1 on the way, is literally all I had. Mm-hmm. And I was ashamed. So the way I coped was drinking.
We always turn to something that takes our attention away internally.
Yeah. And it wasn't until during that time. Now I know people get sonograms, I feel like every 3 weeks when they're pregnant or something. I don't know. Back in my day, and when you were on Medicaid, you got 1, and that was at 6 months, no earlier.
And that was it.
And so at 6 months, when I had to go in for my sonogram, I was really scared, and I was alone. I wouldn't ask Dave to go to my appointments with me, because in my mind, I'm like, people are thinking I'm looking for a baby daddy, and I'm not. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to get myself back to where I was and to grow and to get out of this situation. But I went to my appointment, and I remember I was so scared to go. I wanted to cancel it because I thought I was going to get bad news, because I knew I had not treated my body right for those 6 months. And when I went and they told me everything was great, I was going to have a girl. I had 2 boys at this point. and she was growing beautifully and everything. And I felt like I got sucker punched in my stomach, like the wind was taken out of me. I was so grateful, but I felt so ashamed of myself because I knew it was a matter of choice this whole time, and I did not make a good choice.
You're making a wrong one. It happens.
So that moment forward, I was like, to me, I felt like God gave me an opportunity to do things right. Everything was fine up to there as far as we could tell. So I quit drinking, I quit smoking, and because with my boys, I had stopped. I didn't have a problem stopping, but with my daughter, I was in a dark place. And I quit. She was born. She's great. She's 21, doing great. But it was tough. Yeah. It was really tough.
David came around, swooped you off your feet. And, So let me hear your side of the story now.
No, it just kind of what Isabel was speaking about. So we actually met at the bar. My good friend at the time, he was dating her older sister, and so that's how we met. And yeah, we just hit it off. We talked, and we just hit it off. We've, been together ever since, basically.
So, stepfather, man, I gotta ask, because I know it's gotta be hard. It's never gonna be easy, especially when you have when the kids always have that advantage to say, "Hey, you're not my real father. You can't tell me what to do." I've never had that problem. I've never had that problem directly, but it's always there. And sometimes you want to limit yourself from certain things that you should be doing as a guardian, because you are the guardian. Hey, when you take kids that are not yours and you take them into your own heart and you raise those kids and you shelter those kids and you feed those kids are your kids and they become your kids, and you don't see it any other way. They might see it totally different because, of course, they're going to think on their emotional side of things. And, of course, the person who's never there is always going to be some sort of martyr. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times we do that, because I think I did that when I was growing up with my mom's boyfriends. You ain't my daddy. My daddy is this, and my daddy was that. He knew karate. And, I would hype my dad up, no darn karate, none of that. He was just not there. So I take my hat off to you, man, because it's never easy raising, a child when, you can walk away any chance, any time you want, you can just walk. And when you just choose to stay, and when you take those kids and you say, hey, I can't walk because those are my freaking kids. My brother is the same way. He has 2 kids that he walked into a relationship and they were babies. Like, one was just born. My little niece, she was just born, and my nephew Duke, he was, I think, like a year or so. And so all that time, but you still have those issues, as they grow, the issues will come in there, because when they know, then it's kind of, so I would like to ask, what was it like growing up in that type of household where that you took you put the pants on, and despite criticism or despite bloodline, you still stood in like someone has to do this, Yeah,
well, no, I'll kind of elaborate on that. At first, I got 8 brothers and 3 sisters total between all of my family from my mom and dad's side. And so some of my brothers, like when we was getting married, they're like, "Oh man, you're a better man than me, Dave." And not like to be sarcastic or anything like that, but just me taking on the responsibility of raising 3 kids that's not biologically mine. But I loved Isabel, and I'm like, well, it's either all or nothing. It's either, if we're going to get serious and we're going to do that, get married and stuff like that, I can't just marry her and be like, act a certain way towards the kids. But even throughout the years, like our oldest is 26 now. I met him when he was like 3. So I've known him for a long time. Our youngest son, he just turned 23 a couple months ago. I've known him since he was 1. So, you know, I told him, like, hey, I've known you basically your whole life.
Their whole lives.
Yeah.
They've known you their whole lives.
Right,
Because
exactly.
the first year and a half, that don't even register until what, 3 or 4 or something.
Right. Right. And so, you know, even like when I'd introduce them or people like, hey, how many kids you got? I'd never pit the step kid. I remember the pastor that married us was like, don't use step kid. You know, if you choose to adopt them, you know, that's one thing that you and your wife need to talk about and stuff like that. And so I adopted our daughter, the youngest. But it was tough. It really was. It was tough. Because when they was younger, okay, yeah, they'd call me dad and stuff like that, especially when we got married. But I noticed the older they got, closer to teenage years, they started developing their own opinion about me.
Right.
And even though I've been consistent, go to their games, sometimes I'd help be the coach on the baseball team and stuff like that to help coach them, you know, after working 55, 60 hours a week. You know, I just try to be present because like our dad wasn't there.
Exactly.
You know, our mom, she had 7 kids. She raised 6 of them.
You have to work.
You know, and so, you know, she was there present for us, but at the same time, our dad wasn't present. So we didn't know, even though I got a lot of brothers and most of them are older, I didn't know what a dad looks like. I don't know what it's like to be a dad only than what I got made up in my head, you know? And a lot of our friends, same way, they were, single parent homes, or the dad, he was here and there, or maybe the dad was abusive, you know, and stuff like that. So, you know, becoming a man and raising kids, what you want to show your kids and what you don't want to show your kids, you know? But I'd always, you know, I think at the end of the day, I always just let my kids know that, hey, I love you. If they did something wrong, hey, this is what you did wrong. You admit to it. And if they got they got their butt whipped, this is why you're getting your butt whipped.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. But it was reasonable. It wasn't like I'm going to go in there and just go ham on them because they did something bad or whatever. Most of the time I talk it out versus, you know, it getting physical or anything like that, getting a spanking.
Yeah. Nowadays the kids need spankings. They need more spankings.
Yeah, it just depends on the
for
kids.
spankings.
Depends on the kid.
Yeah, it
We
depends on
have
the
one
kids.
that did not work.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he has a high pain tolerance. He's just like, okay. But I have to say on what Dave is saying, you know, he did a really, really great job. And when he proposed to me and asked me to marry him, he told me that he was marrying my children too.
Yeah.
And he bought them necklaces.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
That when he put the ring on me, he put the necklaces on them as his way to make a union with them,
Yes.
a commitment with them. And I thought that was awesome. You know, during that, of course, it's at the beginning. So we haven't invested all the years and all the trials that we went through, you know, and he's just shown to be consistent, a great father the whole way through. But I know people in my family, and that was probably one of the biggest challenges we had actually raising our children was probably my family, to be totally honest with you. And they would put stuff in my kid's head that he's not your father.
Yeah.
And that started backfiring. And then they would try to tell me, well, you know, Isabel, he's not their biological father. He'll never love them or he'll never understand. And I would say, I get that. I said, but so they would tell me, you need to stop expecting so much from him. And I'm
opinions.
Yeah,
I'm like, well,
Everyone has an
exactly.
opinion.
And the way I saw it was I was unapologetic. And I was like, no, he made that commitment to us just like I made to him. And so I would hold him to as if he was their biological father the whole way through, you know, and people would look at me like, you can't do that. And I'm like, the heck I can. It's my relationship and it's our understanding. And he made that commitment to us. So I have to hold him to it. And
that's a support, man. You support
exactly. And if the kids, you know, even though I wasn't perfect, obviously just learning to be a parent and everything, That's why I can't wait for grandkids because get to try it all over again.
It's a little easier, grandkids.
Right. So I have some great nieces and nephews, and that's so much fun. So I'm imagining the grandkids are so much fun, but I'm not in any hurry, guys. No hurry.
You probably got one on the way now, just because you said that.
No. There's none. We got a grand dog. We were threatened a couple months ago by our daughter that either a grand dog, because she was still staying with us then, or a grandbaby. And I was like, they're both going to be your responsibility. So why are you threatening me with it? But we went with the grand dog.
Yeah, my mother-in-law, she has grand goats.
Oh, really?
She just had 2 of them a couple days, like last week. She didn't even know it. My wife went down to visit, and she's like, "Could you go feel her stomach? She looks kind of fat. She might be pregnant." My wife goes out and feels her stomach. She says, "I think she's pregnant. I feel something moving." The next morning, she walks out, and 2 of the goats are going at it, head-butting. The 2 males, one's fixed, one's not, but they were just going head-butting crazy. And she heard it, crack, crack. Wow. She went around the corner, and she seen them going ham on each other. And she said the closer she got, she started hearing little faint sounds that sound like little small voices of goats. And she hit the corner, and it was a baby goat just wet, just laying there. She just had it. Wow. She didn't even, so she ran up to the house to tell my mom, my mother-in-law, about the goat. And by the time they got back down there, it was 2.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I've never heard
safer.
of anybody having grand goats, but I'll take a goat, I think, too, before a baby right now, you know?
I said, a lot safer. You can't sell your kid off.
Right?
You can sell a goat. No, so you guys been through a lot.
We've really been through a lot, yes.
It's got, like I said, it's got to be hard raising kids, especially being a stepdad and then being the mom, and you love your man and then your kids, and then when they're going at it and there's conflict between them, you're like this centerpiece that's sitting there saying, man, what do I do now? So, and it happens because I remember an incident that happened with us. I kind of got into it with one of my stepkids, but she was that mediator. And it's like so crazy. But before I forget, when we got married, we did a ceremony kind of like you guys. We used sand.
Okay.
And we did the sand, and me and my wife and my mom and her mom, they did the roses. So me and my wife handed each other the rose. My wife handed my mom the rose, and I handed her mom the rose, and then they handed each other the rose. So everyone had passed the rose. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Ceremonies are crazy, but when you marry, that's right, you marry.
Yeah.
Not just you, because you marry all the problems are married. You marry all the problems.
Right.
And I wanted to add this in, and it's not at all because I'm proud of it or anything, but it was for me, like I knew how serious Dave was to me and my kids when I feel like we were married for a year, and which means we had been together for about 5. And I can't remember what we were going through, but like we hit a spot where it was like, maybe this was a mistake. Yeah. Or maybe it was further along. I can't remember which time because we had more than one of those times. But one of the times he told me, when we talked about maybe if it was a mistake, going separate ways. And he said, well, I'm fighting for the kids and for Addis Bay. And I was like, what? And,
that was later on.
And a part of me, obviously, because emotions were high, obviously, if we're having that conversation, it was a heated conversation. But at the same time, I was like, this man's committed. Like, when he was committed, he was committed.
You guys were arguing. We
were arguing, exactly. But I remember thinking, like, he would be willing, because I was so used to being discarded in my life by my parents, by just over and over again and stuff. So I was always just waiting for that moment anyway in our relationship.
Yeah.
And
Finally met somebody that wasn't gonna give you what you wanted.
no, he was, he was here.
It would make her mad too.
Ooh,
Yeah.
it's not fun fighting with someone who doesn't like to fight back.
Hey, because you want it, he giving you what you need. He ain't giving you what
Exactly.
you want.
I
You
couldn't
want the
understand
argument.
that then in my early 20s. I could not wrap my head around. I come from, if we have something to settle, we're about to duke it out. And I'm talking about my family, my mom, my sister, we just duke it out.
Hey,
And Dave was like, "Are you okay?" I'd be acting crazy. And I'm like, "Why aren't you acting crazy?" And he's like, "Well, I'm just confused why you're acting like that."
calm down.
And she'd really get mad because I'm like, "Are you done now?"
Yeah.
That's balance.
Yes, it exactly
balance.
is. That's what we talk about that a lot. How, thank goodness we're not both like me or both like him. Yeah, because
You got to have balance, man. Like I say, good, powerful relationships come when there's some sort of balance. I mean, you might not always get along. No one's ever going
Right.
to 100% get along. We are different creatures, 100% different. You're made of a whole bunch of different things. She's made up a whole bunch of different things. I like to look at it like we're planets. We're in the same solar system. The ones that cling closer hold stronger relationships, like satellites to their planets or whatever. But as long as we're all spinning and we're keeping a certain distance away from each other, just enough to where we don't wreck into each other, that means we're keeping the space between each other a positive room of space. So when you got two people who know how to make sure that they're staying balanced, then that means a whole lot, because sometimes I want to go off the deep end and my wife is always there saying, "No, you're tripping. You need to chill out." Or if I want to go off on someone else, she'll deflect it and bring it in to her,
Right.
because she knows that, I will never hurt her in any kind of way. So it'll sometimes I go off on the kids and she'll suck it towards her because we can handle it a little better because we're that type of couple. And of course, you guys go through so much over a long period of time that you start learning what to do, when to say it, how to say it. And
right.
it's a good thing you got them in your life, because like I said, that gangster, the flame is still there. And that flame can grow at any moment.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't have that spritz bottle sitting next to you that's putting that little flame out, it'll definitely erupt and you can lose everything. So
No, for
that's
sure.
why you guys need each other. I'm glad that you guys you guys have managed to find so much goodness in each other throughout all these years. And I'm glad, that she has a man that's there in her life to help her raise those kids, especially knowing, what those kids could have easily turned into. Right now I have a partner. My partner in the company that I'm in, he just went through some stuff where his daughter it's not his real, it's his real daughter, but it's not biologically his, but it is his daughter. And he fought for this girl, and it's not even his biological, and he has her, and the other parents don't.
Yeah.
So when you talk about having those type of people around you in your life, and me, that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, and I'm sincere as heck, because I got so many people that I'm around that are like that, like my brother. I mean, I have so many people that when it come to those type of relationships, they're going to commit to not just part of the relationship, but that whole relationship. And like I say, I take my hat off, man, because it is never going to be easy raising a child when in your heart, the grievances that are going to come from that. That, man, I'm raising this whole kid, and I'm not even saying the other two. I'm saying the one. I'm raising this whole kid. And this kid has these options. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here, I'm taking him to second grade, third grade, fourth grade. And when he gets to the 7th and 8th, he's going to want to know who his other family or his dad or why, and all these questions going to pop up. And it's just going to take it away from, it's going to take it away from me. You know, all that work I did when they were growing up, now it's going to go to someone who's the martyr, you know. And it's like, we as man or as step parents, we know these consequences that we're going to face one day, or that we're going to, but you still do it, and you still move, and you still love them. And just being mature enough to understand that the things that I did, the sacrifices I made, how long ago? How long y'all been married?
18 years in May, been together since 2000.
So man, 22 years ago, you know, you made a commitment 22 years ago, and you stay with it, man. And look, those kids, they ain't in gangs. They ain't off somewhere all drugged up. You know what I'm saying?
We've been through a lot of battles, and our children do face addiction.
Right.
So we've had to, my family, again, probably one of our biggest challenge as a couple has been just facing my family. Again, I come from a world of drugs and gangs.
Oh man, I know.
And when an outsider was coming in and helping, I was becoming a better person. And, you know, people don't want to see you win, especially when they know that they're going to lose something out of it. And when I say that, it's because my family always relied on me, even though I was the youngest. Mm-hmm. I was the one always willing to go out there and get it. So they would send me off to do the dirty work.
Right.
So I became very brave and willing to face the world in any type of situation and learn to excel through it. Well, I just needed the right person, right, in my life to help nurture that within me. And that's who Dave was for me, and me for him during that time. And what Dave started helping me practice at the beginning of our relationship was learning to say no, because I carried a lot of people. And again, we were just 21 when I met.
You gotta say no.
And I started practicing that, right? And nobody liked that. And when I say no, that means like someone always wanted to live with us. We were raising someone else's kids, which is fine. We did it. You know, we were that.
Trying to be nice.
We were that core in the family where a lot of people relied on us. But then there was my father, who's very toxic and very, he's just very toxic. And he was trying to interfere a lot also. And I think he would cause a lot of confusion because I didn't fully disclose with Dave my full background and where I come from, because I knew it would scare anybody away. I couldn't have friends growing up, right, and stuff. So I knew that my family were bullies and stuff. But we were very close to my family at the same time. But they interfered a lot and caused a lot of problems for us. And then our two sons started their journey with their addiction
8 years ago.
8 years ago. So they were our oldest was turning 18. Our youngest was 14 or something like that. And they started on methamphetamines. And it's been quite a journey ever since. So getting through that also, and just so many other trials that we've been through. But it's, you know, just learning to really trust in each other. And like I said, through a lot of other trials leading up to the point before our kids started battling their addiction, we had been through a lot of things where we learned that if we're going to rely, right, you learn that you can only trust yourself and rely on yourself. But when you build a union, like Dave and I have, and it sounds like what your wife and you have, then it extends out to them. You know, it's like we're a team, and we know that if I have to trust in anybody, it's going to be you.
Yes.
Because you have shown me over and over, you're not going to intentionally fail me. And so I think it was that really got us through, because
it's got to be.
I don't know how we got through some of that.
Yeah, no, because what you got, you know, like you said earlier in the show, you know, everybody got opinions.
Yeah.
So, you know, So, everybody had opinions when the boys was getting older and they started having a relationship with their biological dad, and he started popping up in the picture again. It's kind of like the cool uncle.
Yeah.
You see him once, twice a year.
It's the martyr. That's why I say it's the martyr.
And so, and the boys never did say, "Oh, you're not my dad" or anything like that I can recall. But I noticed, like, our oldest, he was about around 12 or so. And so I flew him down to El Paso where their biological dad lived. And so he was taking him to SeaWorld that summer. So I flew back. He drove him up to Kansas and dropped him back off. But I noticed ever since that, like the oldest one, like he had, like, I'll just say, like, beef with me, or he had a problem with me. Before that, he's like, "Hey, Dad," he'd tell all his friends, "Yeah, that's my dad," blah, blah.
Conversation.
And stuff like that. And we're like, oh, okay. And I noticed it was like a slight difference. And so I always had a conversation with him, like, "Hey, if I could help be a part," and I explained to him the reason why we was flying down there, so you guys could go spend time with your biological dad. Like, "Hey, my dad wasn't around. So if I could do that for you guys, so you guys could have a relationship with your biological dad, I was like, it's cool, man. You got me, you got your biological dad, you got two dads, man." Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's cool. I was like, I didn't have a dad growing up, And so, but it slowly started turning into, and it was more the older than the younger one. They're 3 years apart. So then it kind of like started spreading into him as far as, "Oh, that's not Dad no more. That's Dave." Yeah. And so, and I'm like, "Man, like, what's your deal, dude?" And stuff. So I'd have conversation with them and stuff, and just like straight attitude all the time. And so I'd get stern with them. Then that's where Isabel spoke on, where next thing you know, her family started putting opinions and ideas in their head and this and that and stuff. And I'm like, that's not helping the situation, or, "Oh, that's not your real dad or your biological dad. So he doesn't, if he's doing something he shouldn't be doing, well, he's coming down hard on you because he doesn't love you." Or, putting false narrative in their head and stuff. And I'm like, that's not even the case. Like, why you even tell them that?
Well, because, that's going to happen because they try to win favor back because they know they feel guilty for the behavior of their own kids. If you have a son that's not been there, that mom's always, "My son's, he went through problems, but everyone has problems and he'll be okay. And he shouldn't lose his daddy rights because he hasn't been there for the last 10 years.
Right.
And it's like, well, I get that. I get you want to protect your son or your child. You want your grandkids to know they're the dad, but at the same time, you got to also remember where the passion was, where the love was, where the security was, where the strength came from, the morals and values. All of this stuff makes a person. And if you're not the one that's putting and instilling this into these kids, then you shouldn't be the one they're able to gain all of the repercussions of raising the kid, And I think that's how my brother felt at one point, because the kids that he raised, they, like I said, they get older. And when we get older as kids with no father, we want to go find out why. Why did Dad leave me? What did I do? Why was Dad always so busy doing everything else instead of loving on us? Why was there another man? Why is this man doing it and why not you? And they got all these questions. So, they went away and they had to find, of course, they're going to always have that biological love towards their father, even after the father does all of this crazy stuff. And in no way am I trying to just pin this on fathers, because, there's mothers out there too that just don't want to get it right, would rather chase man all day, or would rather everything else is more important than the love of their child, or going after their kid, or, trying to have some sort of relationship with your kid. It goes both ways, but it comes a point when all that work that you did, no matter what, if you never broke down, if you never gave in to the hysteria, and you always stayed there, and you always been a good man, and you always took care of their mom, one day, no matter what they went through or took you through, they're going to know, and it's there. They trust me. They know it. They have no other choice because guess what? God always puts it right in the center of their heart. You know, so the stuff that you do for those kids, it will not go in vain. You know, it's not going in vain, especially seeing that they went through stuff in their life, like the drugs. I mean, because they're teetering. They're on a tightrope.
Yeah.
You know, they have a family that's still a little shaky because moms have this background and moms has these emotions that are still back there, you know, because we don't never get rid of all of our emotions.
No.
They're back there. We just contain them.
Yeah.
You know, like me, you know, I'm a gang member, you know. I'm one of those guys that'll sit in a group, hey, I'm Chuck, and guess what? I'm an ex-gang member. I went through that life, the drugs, the jail, all that. You know, I went through all that stuff too. Mom's on crack and dad's 100% alcoholic, you know. No relationship with the parents at all because they're all off doing everything that, you know, they want to do. So guess what that did to me? That put me in that same predicament, and I ended up doing the same thing to my child. You know, not there, popping up every once in a while, but when I pop up looking like Jesus because I got all these goods. You know, I got everything to make you say, hey, Dad, you know. So that's why I say I get that teeter-totter. You know, you got that line, and that's a fine line. They have their dads and their family over here that's gangsta, and then they got a settled family over here that's trying to make something happen positive. And what's more attractive? You know, they're going to go to the martyr because they're used to this life. They want to see and taste what this is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And sometimes you taste the candy and you get addicted. And once you get addicted, there's the fight for your life. And I'm just glad that we're sitting here and, you know, they're okay because certain things can take you under. And once you go under, you might not be able to come back up for air. And with people in their lives, structure, you know, like a strong father figure, even though they might rebel against that figure, I'm the man in the house that everyone rebels against because I'm the security. I'm that figure. Even the dogs, you know, everyone wants to rebel, but when things go wrong, guess who's the bad person? I'm always the bad one. Oh, you could have went easy on them. Or like I say, opinions will always fly, but your dignity as a man to do what you got to do when no one else is doing it is the only thing that's going to matter in the end. So, but I see why you guys chose this new life, you know, because you both needed it, you know. Crazy thing is things happen for a reason. You weren't meant to be trapped in Florida.
Yeah,
you know,
no, for sure.
There was somebody else that needed you and you had to come all the way across the damn country to figure it out. And that's just how our lives are. Our lives take us in so many different areas and directions. It's just crazy. But I'm glad to see you guys as a couple. I'm glad to see you supporting her because she's doing her speaking thing.
Yes.
And I
want to talk about a nonprofit we're trying to get started. We've, I guess, started it because we've named it, and I'm starting to build a website. But this is Dave's passion, something that touched his heart. So again, he married me with 3 children. We talked about, we were still dating when I gave birth to my daughter. And he asked me not to tie my tubes. I was tying my tubes. I was a single mom, like I said, a hot mess, and I didn't need any more children. So he asked me not to again. We were just dating. I couldn't listen to another man of what was best for me.
Yeah.
And
after 3 times
tied my tubes. We ended up getting married. We
now, you know that don't mean nothing, right?
We went and we had appointments for in vitro or possibly the reversal of my tubes. And that was back in...
That was like 2005 or 6.
So we were considering, you know, and stuff, because obviously Dave wants a biological kid. Yeah. And as year and year went by, our son started getting involved in the drugs. Like life got really hectic, really busy.
Stole it.
It just ended up back burner. Well, we're in our 40s now, so it was like, okay, we're not going to have children together and stuff. So throughout the years, he's been telling me, well, maybe we're supposed to adopt. Well, maybe we're supposed to foster. And I've just always, I ran a home daycare for a combination of 10 years. And in my mind, I'm like, I've been raising kids since I was 17. So I'm okay with not raising another kid. But when he mentioned, it was always, kids are dear to my heart. So I was just in my mind like, okay, as long as I have a little break in between, like I just need some time without raising kids, because whether ours or other people's kids, we was constantly raising children. So in February, he got connected with a pastor in Uganda he does a church. He's bringing the word of God there to his city and where he's at and everything. But he grew up as an orphan.
As an orphan.
And I'll let Dave tell a little bit more about this, but it's the Grace Yatom Foundation, and we're trying to get support with this. We've linked up with him, and I'll let Dave tell a little bit about the Grace Yatom Foundation. But that's something very near and dear to our heart, and especially to Dave's heart. And I'll let him tell a little bit more about that.
So we met Pastor Grace in February this year. And so first it was just, we'd send them money for food, and we agreed to pay for the rent. And so we do that every couple of weeks
he has orphans. I guess
yeah.
I didn't say that.
Yeah. He has a lot of orphans. He was an orphan himself. He said, part of his story, his journey is he was an orphan. Both of his parents either died or something. They wasn't present. And so he basically grew up on the streets in Uganda. Then it went from that to some missionaries came, and from Canada. He spent a short time in I don't know if it's like a boarding school or something. Mm-hmm. So he got some education. But then he said he got the calling of God to be a pastor. And so it's him, his wife, they have 3 kids together. But now currently they have I think 20 kids. It's like 20 to 22 kids that they foster, and stuff. And so they go to school. But there you have to pay to go to school. So they have needs there as far as the school supplies. And so our short-term goal for Pastor Grace is just to stand by him and pay for the rent, the groceries. Our long-term goal is to buy him land and to have a home built, and also even a school, so they could bring teachers in, pay them, then they could get money for other kids coming in from the local community and make them self-sufficient. Because right now they're just, when we first started talking to them, they would say they would go, days at a time without a meal. They were saying within the last year or two, they had he's either between 5 to age of 5 or 7, that they couldn't afford to pay for his medical care. And so I'm not sure how he died, but he died because they couldn't afford to pay the doctor to give medicine.
One of the kids. So it's just a great need. We've already found the land. We found, for a great price. So we're looking for a down payment. But we just want to support them, give back. And
we did start a Facebook page, though.
We started the Facebook page, Grace Yatom Foundation. Like I said, I'm working on the website. Okay. But we video chat them regularly. So anybody, if you're just curious about learning more about this family, what they're doing, they don't just take in orphan kids. They take in elderly, the sick, anybody who's been ousted from a community. Mm-hmm. They bring everybody in. They don't turn anybody away. And so if you're interested in just getting to know them, kind of get your own vibes and everything, just reach out and let us know, because we'll get you on a video call with them. You can see the kids, speak to the kids,
you can ask
speak
questions.
to pastor, ask your own questions. But yeah, we're really looking for support with this foundation so we can get it up and going.
Yes. Do you guys have any of the information?
Other than the Facebook page. That's really all I have up and going right now. So,
so can they go to that Facebook page?
Yes, Grace Yatom Foundation, or just look me up. It'll be links on this attached to this podcast. So you'll be able to find me, and you'll be able to find links to the Facebook page.
That's awesome, man. What else? What else? Other programs y'all got going on? Is that it?
We just co-authored a book with Brenda Ringwood, who is the host of Becoming the Best You talk show, and I'm actually her co-host, so that's something else I'm doing. Loving
She's also
that.
my agent.
There you go. So having a lot of fun doing that. So we co-authored a book, Stepping Up and Stepping Out, How Do You Show Up? And it's just people sharing their story. So we're chapter 4. So it's on Amazon. Stepping Up and Stepping Out, How Do You Show Up? Other than that, that's kind of what we got going on together.
And you also do speaking, and you speak once a month.
I speak once a month.
So you're growing in that. You're becoming like a professional motivational speaker.
Right. I'm open to wherever God leads me. So I'm speaking on different platforms with Brenda. She has the comechangeyourlife.com where you can sign up, see a lot of her events, and that's Becoming the Best You conference, which is 3-day conferences. Where I attended the one in February here in Overland Park, but I got invited actually to speak on her next one in October.
Is it October?
In St. Louis. And then we'll be in Fort Lauderdale in February. And it's just, it's growing from there. I've had some other invites on some other platforms. And DC.
Washington, DC.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that one. So a lot of great things happening with speaking, with Gigi's Natural Hippie Essentials. I was able to get into a pharmacy, a holistic pharmacy in LA. And a couple local chiropractor's office here in the KC Metro. So everything's just starting to grow and take off, and I'm excited. Yeah.
Now, if you guys need any product advertisement, you're in the right place.
Okay.
Because that's what they do here. They do all kind of product advertisement.
I
They
need
make
to
it
have
look all spiffy.
Yeah, definitely need to have a meeting.
So in the next 5 years, where do you see yourselves?
Next 5 years, hopefully our goal, we sold our house December last year, and we just downsizing. So now we're just in an apartment, which is fine. We love it. It's simple. So in the next 5 years, we're hoping to just be blessed with some land, because we want acreage where we can get like chickens and have fresh eggs and goats, so we can have some grand goats maybe. And that was our dream before even we got married. We wanted land. We lived in Manhattan. There was some land. Just to grow old together,
Well, what did you say you wanted the land for? Before he met Pastor Grace in Uganda and we started helping that foster family, God was speaking heavy to Dave that we were going to be fostering.
Yeah.
So in 5 years, hopefully we've have our land.
You can foster some kids.
And we'll start fostering some kids.
Bringing some over from Uganda.
Well, no, here locally, the need is great here also. So we're just blessed to be able to help. We may not physically be fostering right now, but we are fostering a whole family in Uganda right now. And that's just the need that God brought us right now. In 5 years, we would love to spread our net and help local children here. Tangibly, us taking care. I'm qualified to take care of kids. So that I have a blast doing that. It's just a matter of being in we'd love to be homeowners again before we started that endeavor, which I know that shouldn't be holding us up. That's just kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I get land. I think the first thing I'm doing is planting pumpkins. I want a pumpkin patch so bad.
Ooh, that would be cool. So fun.
I do. I want one. I want my grandkids to grow up working it.
Yep.
Halloween is right before Christmas. So you got pumpkins, to sell. Those grandkids have money to buy Christmas gifts in the next season coming up. So that's my plan when it gets some land.
Great plan. Yeah.
So, but last question, and you guys have been great. You guys got a crazy story. Crazy story. You guys, you keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
You stay together because you guys need each other. You've grown this far, and I just know that God puts people together for a reason. The ones that come for that little short while, maybe just those ones that rock in the road that sends you in a totally different direction, and you end up where you're supposed to be. So
that's right.
All those little rocks, like I said, from Florida to, I mean, you guys literally came from two different places,
right?
And met in Kansas,
right?
My wife, Pennsylvania, me, Nebraska, and we met in Kansas.
Nice.
So it's crazy how it works out. But what positive message would you leave our listeners and our viewers with today?
I can start and then you can finish. So like you just said, the little pebbles in the road, never give up. You know, it's learning how to embrace the pebbles or embrace the hurdles. And know that everything in the universe is working for us, not against us. So if you can learn to embrace life and know that to be true and just stay grateful, know that there's always something to be thankful for. And before you know it, any trial that was in front of you, before you know it, will be behind you. Not because you avoided it and went around it or got over it. You know, you hear a lot, get over it. I was good at getting over things, but I had to learn how to get through things.
Yes.
So just face them. And like I said, know that the world is working for you. You just got to show up and do your part.
Yes, you do.
I'll finish off with just from my experiences and the experiences what Isabel and I had, just keep moving forward, you know, just keep moving forward. And if you have a blended family or just don't give up and just be on the same page, And I don't mean you have to agree 100% of the time with your spouse. That means, you know, being on the same page, give and take. That's what it is. Every relationship is give and take. Don't matter if it's your marriage, your kids, your job. And two things that I'll just finish with this, two things that always keeps me humbled is that, you know, if you're in a dark place, don't give up, keep moving forward. But no matter where you're at right now in your life is think about something that was like probably the most terrifying thing you've ever experienced in your life and look back at it and like, okay, I got through that. So that's just kind of a testament of, hey, I was there. Now I'm here. The second thing is like, I think about like Pastor Grace and, you know, the orphans that he's helping, that he's taking care of. You know, they got it pretty bad. You know, like malaria is a real thing there. You know, like I just think that, okay, yeah, I think I got it bad. Then I look at like Pastor Grace and like the experiences and the stories he's shared with me. You know, other places, even here, like, you know, in Kansas City, like you see stuff on the news, you drive by and you see people living underneath the bridge and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, I got it pretty good. I'm pretty blessed. You know, I might not have it the way I think I might want it, but I'm pretty fortunate.
Yeah. And you can always, as long as you have the opportunity to change it.
Yeah.
As long as you have that last breath to change it. I like that. I like what you said too, because it kind of reminded me of something a good friend of mine. He always tells me, always, I'm going to send this shout out to Jay Williams, because he's always saying everything is always working in my favor.
Yeah.
Everything is always working out for me. Mm-hmm. And I hear him whispering it sometimes. Mm-hmm. So so I say it all the time now. Mm-hmm. And like one day my gas light came on, and I'm just a klutz when it comes to the gas, because I will say, oh, I'm down almost on E. I'll get there after the next stop, and I'll totally blow the gas station and just totally forget about it, and then run out of gas. Mm-hmm. Well, the light came on, and I said, oh man, I gotta go get gas. got on a phone call, totally forgot that I had to go get gas, and blew by the gas station again. And the car started, like, not even 5 minutes after this, the car starts, and I just start reciting what my buddy Jay recites all the time. And that thing putted all the way to Quick Trip.
Yeah.
All the way to Quick Trip. I'm like, oh, man, how many times did the Lord give me to get some gas?
Right.
So, yes, 2 things. Everything is always working out, and keep going.
Keep going. Don't stop.
Don't stop, because you will make it.
Yeah.
All you got to do is stop. So the cup that I read earlier before we started was on adversity. And that's a good one today, because no matter what you guys go through, you guys are always there for each other, and you always going. You never stop. So you keep going. You keep going. And I'm proud of you for even getting up on stage and taking that step, because that's a personal step, very personal step. And I've watched a couple of your videos, and I've watched you build.
Thank you.
And I watched the last video I watched is the last one you sent me, and I can tell the total difference. So you keep doing it, because you're going to impact someone someday, and it's going to save their life. So thank you both for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, you guys know what that means. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of the First Cup KC. I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And like always, stay positive, people.